In India Against Corruption website, you have answered several frequently asked questions. For the benefit of our listeners, I will ask you some of them. Will you please answer them in brief? Ashwin, when activists force a government to do what they want, doesn't it weaken democracy? Why shouldn't they contest elections themselves and then to get their voice heard? Lots of questions on this have come. I have got people.
I think the party...
And again, I'll go ahead further. Right? Some people say, why not Anna team form a political party, contest elections and win, and instead of fighting this government?
We'll see if it comes to it. But I reject the idea that citizens should not do anything other than voting. I think to label, if you notice one thing, sir, other people call us activists, other people call us civil society. I only call myself a citizen. I don't go around saying I'm an activist or civil society or any of these things. I want good anti-corruption legislation. I'm entitled to demand that from my elected representatives. I do not have to wait only at the time of election to choose the person that I want to. Therefore, I reject this claim that we should not do what we are doing. In fact, the reason we are being told this is that on the vast number of bills that are passed by Parliament, there is no citizen pressure at all. When, for example, Justice Santosh Hegde is fond of saying, in 2008 they passed 14 bills in 3 minutes or something like that, without any protest. Nobody. Whose opinions were they endorsing? They tried to pass an amendment to the Criminal Protection Act as one of those 14 bills, which would have weakened the CBI's powers. So the reality is that the vast majority of legislation is taken up without anybody's knowledge, quietly, and no one has the foggiest idea what the hell is being put in these laws. For the first time, we have come forward to say, well, it seems you guys are passing a law. We have certain opinions. We'd like you to consider these opinions. And we are being told, who the hell are you? And my answer is, we are citizens of India. This is how democracy is supposed to be. You prefer it some other way. But don't lecture me on how democracy is supposed to be. That we are reasonably sure we are doing the right thing.
So what you're saying, for the benefit of our listeners, it is a citizens' movement. It is not some social activities coming together. Just because you're an active citizen doesn't mean you become a social activist.
Correct.
Right? Prithvi, I know you are waiting to answer this question. The general impression among the people is a handful of persons are deciding what citizens should do.
Not at all, sir. When we did a referendum, we contacted 85,000 people. 99% in rural Karnataka and about 92% in Bangalore South were asking for exactly the same things that we were asking. I mean, the reason for us to do the referendum was saying that I don't represent anyone. Just to take off on Dr. Ashwin's comment, democracy is supposed to be by the people, for the people. It doesn't specify that I can participate in democracy only if I'm elected. Like Dr. Ashwin said, I'm a father, I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I would like to leave a country for them which they would be happy to live in. And I'm doing it as a citizen of India, and we said, okay, we don't represent anyone. Prithvi Reddy represents Prithvi Reddy. So let's ask other citizens in our country. So the answer is not a handful of people. The catalyst for this entire movement could have been a handful of people. But I think if the people in power don't realize that practically the whole country wants a strong anti-corruption law, then they're not feeling the pulse in the country.
Also, look at who is saying these things. Rashid Alvi said this morning that Anna should contest an election. Do you know what Rashid Alvi did when he contested the election? He won on a Bahujan Samaj Party ticket and defected to Congress. This is his idea of representing his people, right? If you want somebody to contest the election, let him tell the Prime Minister first.
But you have kept that option open that Anna team may form a party to contest elections.
I think we have constantly said that we would like to see more honest people, truly statesmen, to come into politics, people who believe that they are coming into politics for Desh ki seva, not Swayam seva.
That is what Ashwin, Prithvi, this is what people are asking. You are asking good people to come into politics. Why don't you yourself join?
I am sure that this campaign will encourage very many people from around the country who felt that they didn't have a chance to fight elections because elections were never fought on issues. I'm sure it will encourage a new breed of people who will join politics. But I think telling a person that I can have a voice only if I fight elections is wrong.
But I'll say this much. We are political. I don't think we can deny that. But we are not political in the sense that people like Alvi mean. They mean, when they say political, they mean electoral politics only. I mean only polity.
The usual definition, I think people
That's why
keep in mind.
That's why I said if it comes to it, we'll deal with that too. But I believe that polity and engaging in public policy and lawmaking is the responsibility and right of every citizen. In that sense, we are already political.
Ashwin, if civil society, this is the question from frequently asked question. If civil society starts dictating terms, won't Parliament become redundant?
I don't believe so. Parliament will become much stronger if the citizens start dictating what Parliament should do. It is proper in a democracy that Parliament should be guided by what the citizens want. Let's take many of the bills that pass. It's not that Parliament on its own, somehow comes up with this legislation and debates it widely and then passes bills. Most legislation is mooted by a small set of people, moved through a particular department, tabled in cabinet, brought before Parliament for one chamba. This is how lawmaking happens, not only in the center, but also in the states. Even I know how to move legislation, even the other side knows how to move legislation. The reality is we are saying, let's have a system by which legislation is more transparent. There's one thing we can do. If you do this one thing, it will change the nature of legislative politics itself. If you say any bill that is introduced in one session cannot be passed until the next session, you will get a mushrooming of democracy over the whole country. Today what's happening, bills are introduced and passed before there's any time for anybody to say anything. Change this by a simple rule. You introduce it now, you can pass it in the next session. Unless it is a matter of urgent national importance, it should not be allowed to be passed in the